Okay, the hangout is on the air. Hi, Julia.
Hi, Aya. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Uh, the title of our little talk, this little chat that we're having right now, is "The More Things Change." So I thought we could talk about things that change on YouTube, on the internet, uh,
Mm-hmm.
how change affects people, and just whatever. Anything you can fit into that title, we can talk about.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, the more things change, like things have changed a lot on YouTube.
Yeah,
Some of
yeah,
the changes are odd. They don't even make any sense. I think they might just be a generated machine that might just be making some of these ideas or changes. But if you're gonna do that, you need to have it. You need to monitor it and see if it makes sense or not.
yeah. I have a theory about it. It's kind of maybe kind of a paranoid theory, but
Mm-hmm.
I think they like change for change itself. And then you can ask yourself why. In fact, you keep talking about why you think that happens. I'll go get a drink. Okay.
Okay. Well, I don't know why they would like change, because maybe it's because it makes it more tricky for them to have to perhaps pay revenue to every video. Because even the big YouTubers have complained now, like what they used to make is much less than what they make now.
I
So
don't.
it's harder, from what I've heard. Like a lot of the even really big YouTubers, they're still earning on YouTube, but it's not like what it used to be. Like, okay, I told you I follow some mukbangers, right? Like,
Uh-huh.
I follow some vegan ones, but I like the ones that just talk more about food and they're not all like hardcore, like attacking people. But there's this one girl, um, easy cheap lazy vegan, and she was saying the other day she used to be able to do a what I ate today like mukbang type video a few years ago, and she'd get like 200,000 views in a week, and she had barely 10,000 subscribers back then. But like now she could do the same video and now maybe get 30,000 views. It's just a big change because there's just more people, and she was just talking about she felt like there's more competition now, like there's more of us all the time. And there's the advertisers have become more picky, because in the past YouTube wasn't really they weren't looking to see what everybody was posting, and they got in trouble because of some, they didn't tell us this, like the reason that they cut back. They got in trouble because ISIS people, posted videos of beheadings, and then there were some weird child predators that posted videos, and ads ran on those. So everybody kind of suffered because of some bad actors, and now they have their automated system, which makes making ad revenue more difficult. But then on top of that, they also have an automated system that says somebody may own a song, but I go and research that song and it's definitely in public domain, and somebody doesn't own that song. It's an auto-generated channel that makes it look like this person that's not even a person owns a song, but it's a YouTube entity, or it's a group that may have used a public domain song and they're passing this off as owning their song. That's what it appears like to me.
Right. Yeah. So that's been happening to me a lot. And it's almost to the point where I'm only going to use original music but I don't know that it will make any difference. So I was using the habanera, and I actually got it from the YouTube. There's a YouTube editor, and
Yes.
you
Yeah,
can
there is for sure.
take up your own clips and edit them instead of in a different editor. Just do it online with YouTube, and they offer you some free music. And the habanera from Carmen is a very popular song, but it's out of copyright. So I never in the world would have claimed that I wrote it or that I played it. There was a recording that was in public domain. It was offered to me, amazingly enough, by YouTube.
Yeah.
So I took it up, and I have this beautiful butterfly clip of there was this butterfly in my yard, and the dogs, and the butterfly, and me mowing the grass. Okay, just really ordinary, and there weren't even that many views on it, but I liked it. I like to have that particular piece of music on those
That
clips.
video, yeah.
Yeah, and I called it Catch Me If You Can. Speaking for the butterfly. And the butterfly was like a coquette, like Carmen. So now there's somebody, I've even forgotten the person's actual pretend name. So I'm going to just make something up. Schmufflepuffle now claims that this music belongs to him.
I don't even think, like, I looked at that. Okay, it's an auto-generated channel, but this is the weird thing, Aya. Like, every time that happens, they have like a picture of some musician, and they're saying that so and so created through this like media corp. But I don't think that's accurate, because I know that song is out of copyright and in the public domain. So it almost appears as if that group took a whole bunch of songs in the public domain, made like a album, and now they're passing this off as their creation. But that doesn't mean they own that song, because they clearly don't.
Yeah, so people are using this in completely the wrong way. And I think the reason this even started is because people do get some, when they digitize an old piece of music, maybe it makes sense to allow the person who digitized it to get some money back from that. But
how do we even know that's the person who did it? Like, it could be.
I don't think it is. I honestly don't.
I don't think so either. It looks like it's just like a group of people that are claiming somehow, and I don't understand. YouTube doesn't want to explain it to us.
Yeah, so and it's always called orchard music, and I don't know what orchard music is, but they're obviously milking it for all they can get.
And that orchard music kind of reminds me of, it's kind of like when I first signed up years and years ago for like there used to be those where you could buy like 10 DVDs online or through a mail, and you get like a free prize, like a bag or something. And then I picked some classical music CDs, but it was just, they were kind of just like a compilation of different classical songs, and they would say owned by this media corp. But then I thought, did they really own this music, or did their orchestra just perform it? So they kind of, it was a little deceptive in a way.
Okay. Like, no, I mean, the performers do have a right to.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the performers either. This was
no, it's not the. Isn't that an original recording from many years back?
Yes, I believe that it's out of copyright with regard to the performers as well. So, yeah. I mean, it was offered to me by YouTube itself. So, if they said it was out of copyright, chances are it was out of copyright.
It is. Is there any way you can ask for a manual review of any of these videos to point out this
Look,
song?
If I had enough subscribers, then maybe they would let me talk to one of those, handlers who handle the big talents. And then I would just tell them what my problem
I think somebody's going to be getting to you in a few months, because somebody, like that one lady, Cheap Lazy Vegan, she said like when she hit like, I don't know, like 50,000 subscribers, and you're getting up there. So maybe Google will be contacting you in a few months, and then maybe we can ask them why.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love to do that. In fact, if they invite me to have one of those, conversations on a video, I would like for you to be there too, so you can ask those questions.
Yeah, I'd be really curious to know what, although I think it's going to be a while before they're interested in me. My channel is really, one channel was growing, but not, then it kind of just stopped. And I think it was just because of that one particular video, because I was having just an off the wall amount of traffic for a few days. And then it just kind of went, it's kind of back to where it used to be. And I have like enough subscribers and views to be monetized, but overall it's not. I did a video the other day and a lot of people liked it, but it wasn't like, wow, like 2,000 views, like that one back when I was putting the viral video and I had a second video that went up that day. It got an insane amount of views just because of all the traffic I was getting at that time. That's kind of died down for me.
it's died down for me as well. You know, every once in a while I have a viral video, but haven't had one in a while. And so the last couple of videos that I, put up, even the ones that are Bo and exactly what people want Bo to do, he's doing it, and somehow that's not good enough anymore,
Wow. I always wonder though. I mean, we can't predict what it is that makes the video go viral, but I'm always like curious, like what is it about that particular day that the video goes viral, and like what was different? I always kind of ponder these things.
I don't, I think we shouldn't really work too hard to understand that, because it seems to have a lot to do with traffic to YouTube that day, and not necessarily anything that we did.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, I mean, I think that same video, if it had been new on a different day, wouldn't have done as well.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. I guess that could be the case. I was going to say, though, I was pleasantly surprised with the handwriting video, even though like it doesn't have 1,000 views yet. I think it has a lot of interest, and we had a lot of views on that live stream last night, just right after the end. And I think it's continuing to. I just think that's of a lot of interest. I think people are very fascinated about what Kate had to say about handwriting.
Yeah.
And it's much different than what everybody's being told all the time. I kind of like her take on it,
Yes, I do too. And we're going to continue to do shows with Kate throughout the year, about once a month, although we probably won't have one in June, but we will have one in July.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think, yes, the interviews about handwriting, the history of handwriting, cursive, other things, italic, those are good subjects. I agree. But in terms of when you get a viral video, it has, I think, more to do with the people who are watching than what you put on the video. If you see what I'm saying.
I see what you're saying. Like it could just happen to be that day more people were watching for some reason. It might coincide with a certain event. Well, here's another example. It's kind of a morbid one. Somebody passes away, and there could be a biography on this person that nobody's really wanted to read for years, but all of a sudden there's an interest because this person was in the news. Like it could be something like maybe there's some sort of subject in a particular video that just was trending that day and people were searching for that, or there were more people on the site that day. I mean, it could just be random things.
Yes, it has to do with that. And somebody might link to your video, and then a million people in India start watching it, and you really have no control over that one way or the other.
That's very true. So what else is there like with change-wise that is pertinent to this, with all the changes that happen to YouTube? Like, I guess.
Okay. I think we can. I would like to use Kate's points as a metaphor for what's going on here.
Okay.
I mean, it's not really about handwriting, just that she made some points that are valid across the board. There are cycles, and so there are cycles in language. There are cycles in handwriting, where you make things more joined for ease of writing, but then that's hard on your eye. And so after a while, you can't read it anymore, but you can write really fast. And then after a while, people just get tired of not being able to read what people write. So then they decide to make it easier to read, but then that's a little bit more slower to write. And it happens over and over and over again. The same thing goes with language pronunciation. I don't know if you know about euphonic rules, Uh, there are things that are done to make it easier to talk fast, but that makes it harder for the listener. The listener has to make out what you're saying because it's like your speech is becoming slurred because it's more connected.
Mm-hmm.
And then people say, wait a minute, I want you to enunciate more clearly. Then you speak more slowly when you do that. Okay, so um, there are cycles that cause language change, uh,
Mm-hmm.
sound change in languages, so on and so forth. Well, here on the internet, things get easy and then they get hard, and then they get easy and then they get hard. It's the same kind of cycling.
Oh, for sure.
And they're changing the interface to YouTube. Have you noticed?
I did notice. It looks much different. Like even the login, I don't know what it is about the new login icon, but it kind of annoys me. That was just my initial reaction from it. I'm like, it's different than it used to be.
Right. And they constantly change it. And maybe somebody at YouTube actually thinks that they're making it better.
I don't know, like, what was my reaction like when I just saw the login button? I just didn't like it. Like, first off, I was kind of disappointed that they took away Google Plus. Not that I used it all the time, but I thought it was a good way to like share things. Although one upside I've seen to Google Plus being gone is I noticed my traffic to my YouTube videos has seemed to have gone up since that time. I don't know. So I'm kind of like on the fence. Like, I didn't love Google Plus, but maybe there was a benefit to them taking it away. Maybe it does put more energy into just focusing on core things like YouTube, since people used to argue a lot about Google Plus anyway. I don't know.
Yeah. Here's the thing, it's not whether it was good or whether it was bad. Every time they change the design, it just takes me a while to get used to it. Then I don't see the differences anymore. And then they change the design again, and it takes me a while to get used to it. Then I don't notice it anymore. And this has been going on for a really long time, is cycling like this. I don't care what their interface looks like. I just wish it would look the same every single day, because
Yeah. It's consistency, and I do prefer a little bit more consistency.
as we get older, we are more set in our ways, and it's harder for us to make these tiny adjustments to change.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they're just trying to make sure that the very youngest people are the ones who are represented on YouTube. That might be what it is.
That could be part of it, but also too, it's their demographic. Like, even if you have like many people watching YouTube, there's more young people all the time that are going to be adopting technology. Like, it's funny because they used to say 10 years ago, don't let your kids have a cell phone until they're 16, but now everybody has an iPad, cell phone. Like, I see 2-year-olds that can pick up an iPad and use it better than someone who's, I don't know, my age. So anyway, it's just there's more younger people who use YouTube, so they're probably going to make that their target audience. And of course, there's more young YouTubers, but their audience in general. Well, when I look at my demographics of who watches my channel, it's people that are slightly younger than me that watch it more than like really young people. But I think over time it's going to be just, there's a certain age demographic that's going to be using YouTube the most. Just like I know people that are my parents' age, and some of them are like, well, I only will watch TV. Like, that's the only thing I'll watch. But I guess I'm a little bit different because I haven't subscribed to cable in a few years, and I do watch YouTubers sometimes, you know. I don't watch TV per se, so I do sometimes watch YouTube. But there's people my age, they still they stream Netflix and Hulu, but I don't watch a lot of movies. I don't watch a lot of shows. But the very younger people, I think a lot of them are watching shows and content on YouTube. So I guess these interface changes are for them mostly.
Yeah. But here's what I'm saying. It's being used as a filter. I have no problem with the fact that most of my viewers are young people too.
Yeah, yeah.
But when you change the rules every few months, okay, when you change superficial things about how it looks, okay, and you're not really changing, the engine behind it, you're just changing how it looks. Who's going to be out in the cold? The person who can't adapt quickly. And that's going to be an older person who's been using YouTube for as long as YouTube has been there.
Yeah.
As they get older, they won't be able to make the changes swiftly. Do you see what I'm saying?
I see exactly what you're saying. No, I totally agree. Like, if they keep making all these changes all the time, it makes it more tricky for a person that has been on the platform for years to adapt to each new change. And then, that's not good.
Right. So that makes me think about Daniel Kahneman, who was the friend of Nassim Taleb.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of switching to trying to read some of his material, and he
good.
has a book called Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow, or something like that. I don't I don't remember exactly. Maybe you can look it up and find out what it's really called.
I can figure it out pretty fast. But Thinking Fast, Thinking. So his name is Michael Fallon, you said?
No, Daniel.
I'm sorry. And then, so anyway, what's his book kind of about?
He's a psychologist. He has a Nobel Prize in economics.
Oh, nice.
And he likes to talk about System 1 and System 2. It sounds like a Dr. Seuss book. So I believe System 1 is the stuff that we learn to automate. It's below conscious awareness, but it's how you ride a bike, how you pick up objects, how you do anything that is second nature to you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you found his book yet?
I did. It's Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. I have the title right here on Amazon, and it's kind of cool because it's free with the Kindle app, or if you do the Audible trial, you can get it as a free book. There's a lot of options. It's kind of cool. Interesting.
Do you want to read the synopsis out loud?
Okay, yeah. Major New York Times bestseller, winner of the National Academy of Sciences Best Book Award in 2012. I like to say 2012. That's another thing. Everybody says 2012, but I always said 2012. Selected by the New York Times Book Review as one of the 10 best books of 2011. A Globe and Mail Best Books of the Year 2011. Title: one of The Economist's 2011 Books of the Year, one of the Wall Street Journal's Best Nonfiction Books of 2011, the 2013 Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient. Kahneman's work with Amos Tversky is the subject of Michael Lewis's The Undoing Project, a friendship that changed our minds. That's interesting. So he's quite, and then there's a lot of editorial reviews of his book, and it seems like it's mostly positive feedback. I've never heard of him before, but is he the Israeli friend of Nassim Taleb that he goes to visit? Oh, I see. Okay, that's really cool.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. Once you learn how to ride a bicycle, do you have to ride a bicycle every day in order to still remember how to ride a bicycle?
No, you can pick it back up again whenever you like. I do have an interesting story about riding a bicycle. I know how to still ride it, but I'm scared now. I don't want to ride a bike anymore. And that probably sounds insane, but just something happened to me recently after the bottle was thrown into the chain. And then I started feeling like, am I going to fall off the bike? Am I going to break a bone? And it never bothered me before, ever. But then I had that experience where my shoelace got wrapped around the pedal and I fell off the bike and I pulled myself off and I was fine. And this was years ago, but now it's like, I don't want to ride a bike anymore. I'm just like, I'm so over it. I'm like, I don't But I haven't forgotten how to ride a bike. I just kept feeling like I didn't feel comfortable all of a sudden. And I
Yeah.
just don't care, period. But I still know how to ride a bike. It didn't change. I just
Right.
don't want to anymore. So
Yeah.
yeah, you don't forget.
I'm sorry that it happened, and that sounds like post-traumatic stress disorder. I know I'm being an armchair psychologist.
I like this though. I think you're so right. And you know what? You're absolutely right. But you don't forget how to ride a bike. I think it's just like, do you still want to ride a bike? So I think as an adult, yeah, of course, if you rode a bike as a kid, you probably can pick it back up. But I've heard if you're an adult that never learned how to ride a bike, then it's like doubly, it's
very
very
hard, very, very hard. And the same thing goes with language. If you've never spoken any language and you're an adult, it's so hard. It's almost impossible to learn to speak your first language. But if you're a baby, you can pick up as many languages as you want. And it's not, well, it doesn't seem very hard, you know?
yeah, it's not tricky at all. Like because your mind is like, it's malleable still at that age, right? Where you can pick up
Yeah,
sounds and
right. So that's why a chimpanzee who has grown up in a human household is so different from a chimpanzee who has never been in a human household.
of course, I mean 100%. Like for any being, I mean any being, like well, cats, for instance, people are like, oh, I see a kitty outside, but like a lot of these cats, especially here in Southern California, they're scared of humans because they're feral cats. They've never been around humans. You take a cat away from a human household, and in one generation, it's almost a wild animal again. It doesn't want to be around people, period.
Right. So it's not really about being wild or not wild in terms of the biology, it's in terms of the experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of all over the place with this, but I'm just doing stream of consciousness.
Well,
But,
that's fine.
but here's the point about system 1 and system 2. Once you learn how to do something, when you're starting out to learn how to do it, you stumble a lot, even if you're just learning how to walk,
Mm-hmm.
it's common to fall down.
Sure.
And you get up and it's okay. But once you learn how to walk, it becomes part of your memory, this memory about how to do stuff. And that's a system 1. And you can do it really well without thinking about it. But if you were to start thinking, gee, how do you walk? And you tried to do it that way, you would be terrible at it,
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And that's driving is like this, flying an airplane is like this. It's not that I'm a pilot, but I did take flying lessons.
Yeah, I think we can make some analogies between those things.
Yeah.
I never really drove because I had so much anxiety. This probably sounds horrible, but you get me on the freeway and I'd be like, no.
I do understand. I did have anxiety and I had to get over it. I mean, it was hard for me. It wasn't like easy for other people. I remember as a teenager learning how to drive, and I thought, people don't know how brave I am, because for them it's nothing. And for me, it's so hard,
Yeah.
So I felt like I had to do it, because otherwise, living in Texas and being an attorney and stuff.
You have to drive for your job. That's it. Like, how would you get places? You couldn't.
Right. But then I would arrive for an interview and I would be shaking because I had to drive, and, it didn't go well. So yeah, I totally understand what you're talking about. But anyway, this is part of the problem with driving is, if you were to hit somebody, if you were to have an accident, you would be held accountable for that. And they would hold the conscious mind of who you are accountable for it. But the person who made that decision, to stop, not to stop, what to do, that wasn't the conscious you. That would be your subconscious driving the car. And that's one of the reasons it causes anxiety if you're a very thoughtful person. If you're a thoughtful person, you realize that you can't think as fast as you need to in order to drive a car. So you have to let go of control of your actions to the subconscious you, to system 1. That's
Mhm.
part of the issue there. Um, yeah. So that's all of that is true. But when we type or write, or handwrite, all of that has to become subconscious before it's fluid and fluent.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I feel very like subconsciously that flows for me very easily though, like the typing and the handwriting. I'm like, nothing. That's nothing to me. But these other like flying a plane, I kind of like. Sounds weird, but I almost think I'd be less fearful of learning to fly a plane than trying to drive on the freeway.
That's true, because what you're really having to deal with on the freeway is other people, other drivers. Whereas if you're flying a plane and there aren't other planes around,
Mm-hmm.
it's just you and reality, but not other people.
Maybe if your YouTube channel gets bigger, you get the opportunity to go fly a plane. That would be kind of interesting. I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway, here's my point. As adults and as we get older, there are a lot of skills that we've already picked up. We've invested in learning them, and now we know how to do them. So I don't have to learn language all over again, even if my brain were to shrink a little from old age.
Mm-hmm.
I have it in my subconscious. So it's all through there. Therefore, as people get older, they don't immediately stop knowing how to talk, even if there's some brain shrinkage.
Mm-hmm.
But it's harder for them to learn a new skill. Do you
Yeah,
see?
definitely. Yeah, taking in new information, your mind is not as malleable at that point because your mind is shrinking. You can't just take in all this new information all the time, but what you've had already is somewhat retained. It doesn't go away overnight. Yeah.
So that's why it's so important that what we invested in learning when we are young doesn't just disappear and people say, oh, that's no good. We don't do it that way anymore. Because as older people, it's not that easy for us to learn a new system, but we can still use the old system.
I see this every day. People, they get really upset. They're like, where are the phone books? Oh my gosh, the post office doesn't have the phone books anymore. They go in the post office, and I feel really bad for them. But the lady working at the post office is laughing at them. They're like, do you see everybody on their phone? Everybody has a phone. Nobody uses. But there are these people, they're kind of stuck in this, I don't know, 1988 has not left their life. And they come looking, and we have like the only phone book that they can find anywhere because they're still used to having a phone book, and it's really hard to just get a phone book delivered to your house now because they don't do that anymore really unless you request it, I think. So people are confused, and that never made that leap to the smartphone.
Right. But I mean, those of us who are online, who do use computers, get used to certain things being a certain way.
For
We
sure.
still looking on the screen, and here's the icon for something, and here's the icon for something else. And if you change it around, maybe a young person, it doesn't phase them at all because they can learn it that fast.
Mm-hmm.
But the older you are, the less likely you are to be able to bounce back from a change like that.
It does kind of like, it throws you off a little bit for sure.
Well, the older you are, the more it will throw you off because you're not going to be able to build a new map for where everything is. But your system one memory still remembers where everything is. So back in the day, it was a lifetime investment to learn, say, shorthand, or the QWERTY keyboard.
Yeah, it was pretty important. And then you know what I found out now is I'm typing everything when I text people, and they're like, well, we just talk to our phone and it's talk to type, which, by the way, you better be careful if you're using that thing. Just type the message, because because you don't know what talking type might be telling somebody. They told me something really weird the other day from somebody else. So yeah, the young people, they're just talking to their phones, and the phone is transcribing what they're saying when they're
Yeah,
texting.
the phone doesn't know the difference between homonyms, and so it's writing the wrong word.
Yeah, I did the other day because my sister sent me one message and then it sent me something that sounded like a frat boy would say. And I'm like, is this you? And then she looked at her message in the morning. She's like, oh my gosh, what did it say? And I said, that's why I type all my messages.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't do that. I type mine too. But you know what? It keeps the autocorrect keeps getting in my way.
Mm-hmm. I hate autocorrect sometimes because I feel like, well, isn't this correct? Why does autocorrect keep saying that's not correct? But I know that's correct because that's just the rule of grammar. But the autocorrect is telling me, no, it's the other way.
See, I texted my daughter in Hebrew, but not the Hebrew letters, but just a transliteration, letter for letter. And
Yeah.
and autocorrect is kind of sneaky because it's learned to predict some of the things that I might say, but it doesn't understand the grammar. So it still tries to correct what I say into Hebrew that is incorrect. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that makes it sense. Like it's trying to correct your conversation, but it's suggesting the wrong things.
Right, because if it had me talk about somebody who's male and then it sees the same word and I want to make it about somebody who's female, it will
do that. Google
Yeah.
is doing that too. Like if you go on Google, and I've been noticing more and more all the time, like it used to suggest things, but now it suggests even more searches to you. And the longer your search phrases, the more precise, like it'll have all these different suggestions. And I'm like, are people like searching for all these things? And I'm like, of course, Google has stored all our information. And yeah, of course they're searching. It just, some of the things it was suggesting were really like, that's weird. I never would have thought about that. But now Google suggested it to me and now I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. Yes. It's messing with our minds. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So a lot of things have changed on me in the last couple of months. And I don't recover as quickly from those changes as I used to.
Yeah. It's not like I love change. I really don't. But I guess I just have to accept change is continuous. Like there's a lot of things that change for me. Like something will be one way one day, and then it's not that way the next day, and it bothers me. But then I guess I have to accept. I guess it's just because somebody was really nice to me at this one time because they just wanted to get to know me, and then like, oh, but then the next day they feel differently. But I guess I just have to accept that. I'm like, okay. Like, I don't like change, but sometimes you have to accept change, I guess.
Well, yeah. Well, when people are changeable, there's nothing we can do about that.
Well, people can be like Google, but at least Google should be a little bit better, I think, because we're using Google all the time and YouTube all the time. They shouldn't be messing around with like where to log in, how to log in, taking away the service, adding the.
I mean, if it's actually okay, we have a new service here, or if this is going to do something new, fine. Then find a place to put it where everything else stays the same. And that one new thing is something we can learn. But they change everything around. And I can't believe that it's necessary to change everything.
It really isn't. I don't like that new Google login. There's just something about it. I don't know, or YouTube login. It's just very strange, but I don't. They keep changing it. That's just another example.
Right. So I don't know what to say. It's not really that I'm against progress, but I don't like things that are circularly changing. The more it changes, the more it stays the same. I don't like that.
Yeah, that part's not good. Like if there's some continuity and you can have like certain things that remain consistent, like just like certain services. Like if you're going to add a service, maybe you should think about, are you going to keep that service like 10 years, 20 years into the future? Because I think like with Google Plus, they didn't really think about it. They're just like, oh, okay, we want to compete with like Facebook, so let's add Google Plus. But then since nobody ever used it, they're like, oh, okay, we're taking Google Plus away now. Like people used it, but just not the way that they had hoped, you know.
Right. Well, in my case, what really threw me off was CreateSpace. Now, this is part of Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
and Audible is also part of Amazon, and Kindle is part of Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So they invested so much into CreateSpace, and I invested so much into learning how to edit books and make them look nice and
Mm-hmm.
be very professional about it. And I thought, okay, I'm investing in learning this. And having learned it, I will have that knowledge anytime I want to publish a new book. And now it's gone because they just closed the whole thing up. And I feel like a fool that I invested so much of my time learning that, thinking that was a marketable skill. You know,
Yeah, it's disappointing. My only thought is that they close it because they realize, oh, well, we're not making enough money off the service. And I don't think they really cared about the users using it. It wasn't really thought out. It just sounds like they want you to either use Kindle, Audible, or publish through them. And it's
yeah,
cheaper for them to
I
do.
don't even think of it as a service. I mean, it was their business, and
Yeah, you're right. It was more of their business model, right?
yes, yeah, they made money off of that, and
I
so
thought,
did I. So did I. But you know, there's nothing wrong with making money, but it wasn't like it was some kind of free service.
oh no, I don't think it was free at all. They charged a lot. I remember they actually offered like a certain editing service through that. Well,
Oh yeah, but I didn't do that. I
well, you
never.
didn't do that. But I would think people would want to use that, like even if you had to pay for it. Like for some people, I'm surprised that they just to take CreateSpace away. Wouldn't that be better than what they have now? Where I don't know, there's no. I'm just asking, like, how is just having Kindle and Audible better than taking that away?
Well, they're saying that through Kindle we can do that, but I still haven't. Here's the thing, I should have already tried, okay? But because I'm reticent to try new things, because lately, every time I try something new, it just changes something and I can't go back to the way it was before, you know. I can't recover from changes as easily. So
Yeah.
I'm more hesitant about doing things because I'm afraid if I mess with something, then it will mess up everything. And so it's kind of like when you paint. I don't know how you paint, but I guess you paint differently from me. But like some people will sketch whatever it is they want to paint, and then they add the paint. Well, I don't do it that way. I will just slab on the paint, and then I put more paint on and more paint on until it starts to look like what I want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
But the downside of that is if I make a tiny mistake, I might have to, you know, dab a whole bunch of paint on and start over from a certain place. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, but there's, different ways of doing things.
Right, exactly. So anyway, in the way that I paint, there are times when I know it's not perfect, but I don't want to change it because if I try to make it better, I might make it worse. And I just think, I kind of like the way it is now, so I'll stop.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So with a lot of things right now, I'm just afraid to touch them
Mm-hmm.
because I don't have good hand-eye coordination. And I don't know that if I make a change, I'll be able to get back to where I was before.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, like you may alter, like there's a certain part of the painting you like, and then if you change it just to fix that one part, you could end up destroying the part that actually was something you really liked.
Right, exactly. So the same thing, you could say, well, why don't you try this? And if it doesn't work, just change it back to the way it was. And I'm talking about not in a painting, but on a website. Well,
Yeah.
I've had too many experiences lately where I changed something and I tried to change it
Oh
and
yeah, and it didn't go back. See,
it
that's
didn't go back. Yeah.
I see. I didn't think I didn't know that it'd be like that malleable. Like I thought you could change it, go back, but I guess not. I guess it just wow.
I mean, sometimes something crashes and then you can just not recover.
Hmm.
And so that's why I have concerns about some of these changes.
I see what you're saying for sure. I mean, we don't always want to adopt every new because that would take our time away, by the way. Like if we want to invest in learning how to do certain things so we can put our time into creating things. If we had to keep investing in learning something new all the time, where are we going to have time to create books, to create art?
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I meant. You said that very well.
So it's counterproductive, really, all these new changes when you think about it that way, that they keep introducing all the time.
Right. So it's not about being against progress or even against learning new things. I don't mind learning something new, but I don't want to learn the same thing over and over and over again when I already had it.
Well, just think about like if they told Thomas Edison or Einstein if they were working on their key inventions right now. Well, I'm sorry, you can't do that because of this not regulation. You need to do this. Like, can you imagine? Because I know many of the inventions that changed the world that we know it today, they had the freedom to explore these things. They weren't like, here's a new change, here's a new change. And I'm not saying Google can't change things, it's their platform, but they probably should take into consideration like how it will impact people who use their service. Like maybe some people stop. I don't know. I have some people tell me, well, I can't find anything on YouTube that you post. I just don't look anymore because it's too hard to find it.
Yeah, I've been told that too. And I've had people tell me, I don't watch your videos on YouTube. And I say, well, they are on YouTube. Where else would you see them? And they'll say, I watch your videos on Twitter. And I'm so confused. What does that mean?
That happened last night too, because you know how I posted our video. So you could click on it, click through, go to YouTube, and then Kate, she asked me like, "Oh, where is it?" I said, "Oh, well, here it is again." So I sent her the link, but I had posted it on our wall, and I had tagged all of us. But I guess unless you're doing that all the time, like you really have to be doing this sort of thing like all the time. And I think about it, most people don't do that. Like all these things I do with like posting to a social media website, sharing this, tagging that. Most people don't do that because a lot of people I know, they're like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean by tag? Or like, I don't know what tag is. Like I've had people tell me that too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I never know what to say when somebody who's been watching all my videos tells me, I've never been to your channel. I've never been to YouTube. It's like, how is that possible? You know?
We're just watching it on the embedded player on, another thing I'm doing too, and I had fallen behind on is I want to get back to posting the live streams that we do on my blog. And I don't know if that helps at all, but if anybody is reading my blog, because I am getting some traffic there, maybe more people can watch from there as well. That's
Yeah.
another thought.
That's the other thing. I have these blogs. They did have a certain readership. And because I've been so busy with the YouTube thing, I haven't had time to write any blog posts. But I should probably just write something small and embed the videos, although it won't be the same as
Yeah.
the blog posts that I used to write.
Well, maybe then just when you have time, write the kind of blog posts you want to write then. Maybe just when you do have time, just do that then. Because you did have a readership. I felt like, okay, I did all those challenges with my blogs, but I never had like, I would get traffic to my blogs, but I didn't have like a lot of consistent readers except for maybe one person that would comment every time I posted to a photography or art blog. Like she was really consistent and you would comment too, but I didn't have a lot of people commenting on my blogs. It's kind of just like traffic to it. I don't have consistent readership.
Yeah, well, I think I may have lost mine, but I did have two blogger blogs that were very different from each other, totally different. I had different readership in each of them.
Yeah, you had a lot of really good comments on your blog, if I remember right. People were really reading and they were commenting on it. Do any of those people watch your YouTube channel at all, I wonder?
I don't know. I think maybe one or two Yaron Brook fans do. Um, Ayn Rand people.
Mhm.
Uh, but I have mixed feelings about Yaron Brook's politics. So
Okay.
I sometimes comment over there,
Mhm.
but I don't know.
Can we
So
do a video about that? Because I don't know anything about this. I'm just curious. Or is that something that you don't discuss very much?
what?
Your reservations about his politics? Because I don't really know anything about him, for
Oh,
instance.
well, I don't claim that I know a lot about him too. So here's how I found out about him. It was my poet friend, F.L. Light. He passed away
Hmm.
a while back, but he was an objectivist. Do you know what an objectivist is?
I have kind of a vague idea. You can go ahead and share with us so I would be more
Oh,
certain.
okay. Or you could look it up again and see what the internet says about it. I'll tell you, and then you can read me whatever they say, because I don't want to be, saying this wrong. But Ayn Rand has her
Okay.
philosophy. Her philosophy is objectivism. And so anybody who follows her philosophy is called an objectivist. But the problem with Ayn Rand was that while she had a lot of good ideas, she did, she wanted everyone to uh, either agree with everything like a package deal or disagree and say they're not an objectivist. So if I were to say that I was an objectivist, that would be considered wrong because I don't agree with everything, but I do agree with a lot. Are you still there?
I'm still there, but I noticed like our connection slowed down when we started talking about this all of a sudden, which was really strange. Like it
Yeah.
started like digitizing, and I could hear parts. What I heard you say was like you agree with a lot of what she says, but you don't agree with like everything she says. But it sounds like the people in her school thought they sort of had to like be objectivist, where they have to agree and object to everything that she doesn't agree with. Is that, am I getting that right? Is that kind of their take
Yeah.
on it?
Yeah. So, obviously I'm not an objectivist. If you have to buy everything as a package deal, I don't. But I do admire Ayn Rand and I do read her works, and there are many things I agree with.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, I don't think we can agree with somebody on everything. That just sounds supercilious, and maybe like we're treating them like a god. Like, you could read somebody's work and agree with a lot of things that they write, but I don't think most people that have a mind and can think for themselves are going to agree with every single point a person made.
Right. So anyway, when Ayn Rand died, her heir, her intellectual heir,
Mhm.
was called Leonard Peikoff. He was like the cousin of Barbara Brandon, something like that.
Mhm.
I don't know if you know about the whole Brandon uh, thing.
I guess I don't. Like, I really am gonna have to read up on this. I really don't have a lot of background knowledge on it. I know she wrote The Fountainhead. I know she wrote many famous books that were turned into movies, and she was a big libertarian. She was friends with Rose Wilderlane, but I wasn't really like an Ayn Rand follower, so I didn't know a lot about her. But anyway, go ahead.
No, she was friends with Isabel Patterson, but who was a Rose Wilder Lane fan, but I don't think she actually met Rose.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm not sure, but I don't think so. Uh, and she didn't want to be called the libertarian.
Huh.
because libertarians believe some things she likes and some things she doesn't like.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. See, I didn't know that about her.
But anyway, she had an affair with a dad by the name of Nathaniel Brandon. And Nathaniel's ex-wife, Barbara, wrote a book called The Passion of Ayn Rand. And she exposed that. But anyway, it's all very complicated.
Sounds like a soap opera. Like a soap opera.
Yeah, it kind of is. Hold on. Okay. I'm just being updated on chimpanzee art.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, if we're going too long with Bo, maybe we could continue the discussion.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So, Leonard Peikoff was Ayn Rand's heir, and somehow he passed the baton on to Yaron Brook, YARON BROOK. Would you care to look up Yaron's biography?
I can look that up. Okay, so Yaron, okay. Ayn Rand, yeah. Make it. Have Leonard Peikoff. Now I'm trying to get to Yaron. So it took me to Leonard Peikoff. Let's see if I can find Yaron. Yeah. Home. Okay. Yaron. Okay. So I have the article about Leonard Peikoff, but I'm trying to find about Yaron and
YARON.
Okay, YARON. Brooke, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now it's okay. There we go. I found a Wikipedia article about him. He was born on May 23rd, 1961. He's kind of the same age as you, Aya. That's cool.
Yeah.
He's Israeli American. You guys have some things in common.
Yeah.
Entrepreneur, writer, activist. He's an objectivist and a current chairman of the board of the Ayn Rand Institute, where he has executive director from, sorry about that, where he is an executive director from 2000 to 2017. He's also co-founder of the BH Equity Research and the author of several books in which he analyzes a variety of topics from an objectivist viewpoint. Okay, that's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, so he has a YouTube channel. And the last time I checked, I have more subscribers on my main channel than he does.
See, there you go. Is he the one that couldn't endorse Austin Peterson? Is that the?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wasn't quite certain because
some of his fans come to my secondary channel and talk to me about him.
Oh, cool. That's interesting. See, that's good though. You're kind of in the dialogue now. You have more subscribers than he does, so you're kind of becoming a bigger person in this circle that people can listen to, you know, and get ideas from.
Yeah, I was hoping to be able to ask him on our show with you and me.
Yes, that would be interesting. Have you thought about approaching him yet?
Not really. I'll tell you why I'm reticent to do that. Number one, he really is much more successful than I am. You know, he has books out that are published by the establishment, you know, the big press. When he goes and he gives lectures all around the world, he gets paid an honorarium for appearing.
Wow.
I cannot pay him anything for appearing on my show. It's just not going to happen.
So you don't think he would just come on like different shows without that some sort of incentive? Because it seems like some people might do, but I guess he does not.
I haven't asked him, but here's my feeling. My feeling about this is Ayn Rand encourages people to ask for money for their services, so he would be proud to ask for it and require it. I think I would have a better chance of getting Nassim Taleb to
Yes.
to come on for free than I would Yaron Brook, because Nassim he doesn't give off that same air about money, you know?
I kind of like Nassim Taleb's approach. Like, I feel like he goes on a lot of different programs or shows, and he's selective about what he does, but it's not like, I need money.
Right.
And I'm not saying that's bad. It's just, it's different, I guess. You know, if getting paid is important to you, that's good, you know?
Right. I mean, sure, I'd love to be paid too, but I do a lot of things for free.
Maybe sometimes it's better to do things for free than get paid. Because think about it this way: who else gets paid to go speak? Like, who else makes a lot of money that gets paid to go speak and write books? Like, what other kind of people? Ex-presidents, you know, like, just because you get paid to do something. And I'm not saying, I'm not detracting from what he gets paid or his success, which is wonderful, but sometimes getting paid to speak, is there an obligation once you get paid by that group? Like, that's my question about those things.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so I don't know. I would love to ask Yaron Brook to be on our program. I certainly would love to talk to him, but I have the feeling that he would look down on me because who am I? And, I'm kind of more of an anarchist than he is. So I don't think he likes privateers. And what's really funny is I noticed on his live streams, there's one guy who calls himself Ragnar Danishold. And Ragnar Danishold is a character in Atlas Shrugged, and he's a pirate. So, and that person seems to be much more of an anarchist than Yaron Brook. So, in some ways, Yaron Brook just wants everything to be the same. He believes in limited liability for corporations. He just wants, less taxation. But
the establishment is what it sounds like to me. Like, he likes the status quo a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. But he lives in Puerto Rico to avoid taxation.
Okay, well, that's interesting. So he does. Well, I think what it is he wants to pay less taxes, but he doesn't want like bigger changes, like the limited liability thing. Like, he wouldn't be on board. Like, he'd be okay with everybody paying less tax, but he wouldn't want like a major change that would be more on the anarchist side of the spectrum. Is that right? Do you think? Or
yes. Yes. He also kind of likes large corporations having monopolies.
Oh, and that is another thing everybody's been talking about. I don't want to break up Facebook though. Like, can I ask you what you think about that? Because it's like now everybody's talking about that on the left. They're talking about we need to break up Facebook, but I don't know. I don't really want to break them up.
No, I don't think the government should break anybody up.
And that scares me that they're talking that way about it. But anyway, go ahead.
But on the other hand, they shouldn't have limited liability either. So if they're going to be large, they should be, people who own stock should be responsible for what they do.
Mm-hmm. There should be some sort of liability. For instance, like if you have a video up and they're saying, oh, well, this video has partially owned rights by this person who it doesn't, there should be some liability for that.
Yeah, I think so. Right, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or wherever.
Or Instagram. And then the thing that's interesting about Facebook is they own Instagram, they own WhatsApp. And it's funny because my friend, or I don't really talk to him anymore, but he would always be like, we have to message on WhatsApp because it's more private than Facebook. Like, we could not message on Facebook. But then when I told somebody that, they said, well, maybe 3 or 4 years ago that was true, but Facebook acquired WhatsApp. Like, they've acquired many of these messaging services. So now WhatsApp is just a subsidiary of Facebook, like Instagram is.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like deciding whether you want to drink Coke or Pepsi, and maybe some other company owns both of them. There are situations like that.
Yeah. And I'm not like anti that, but I do think there should be some liability, like you're saying. Like, I
Yeah.
just don't want it to be like, well, we are the government and we are going to be socialists and we're going to better come in and break. I used to like the Young Turks, and I kind of like Cenk Uygur a little bit. He's a little bit more balanced than some of the people on there. He was a Republican up until he was like 21. I think he's a little bit more balanced, but some of the people on there, I don't really like them. Like, they're just very like out there. They're like, we want to do this, we want to do that. And he'll like, even lately, he'll say something like, he seems like, he's like, well, I don't want to break up Facebook. I have mixed feelings on that. And they're telling like people on the show are like, yeah, we should break up Facebook. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't like that whole like treating Facebook like the whole antitrust thing. Like, we're going to go break up. Because did that make things better when they went to break up the PAC bells and everything? Wasn't there? I saw some worse things happen from that, by the way, when they broke up all the phone.
No, I agree with that. But you don't have to be antitrust to realize that some of the large corporations wouldn't be as large if it weren't for limited liability.
So we should not have limited liability. That might be the thing to keep them in check, as opposed to having the government.
Yes.
That would be better then.
Yes, I believe so, because you want it to happen naturally. However large or however small a company is, it should happen naturally and organically, and not have some person, who has power from the government deciding that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll need to read up a little bit more on it too, I think, because I follow these things because they're things that you discuss a lot, but it's not something I follow quite a bit. But I just know that I don't really like the liberal side of the equation, where they want to go in and be like, we're going to break this up, but not really have a reason for it besides saying like, we're going to make society better now.
Yeah, it doesn't get any better with intervention.
No, I feel like it's making everything worse. Like, every time they come in and they say, well, we're going to make healthcare better. Did that make healthcare better?
No.
Not really.
Not at all. So, yeah, I just think everything should be as privately taken care of as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten to the point where I think that I don't really trust the courts anymore. I don't trust prosecutors. It's not that I'm against the death penalty, but I don't think government-run courts should be deciding that. I trust ordinary people more than I trust the government.
Which would be in line with, like, you're more of an anarchist on the spectrum. Like, you're more just for private entities or people to make these decisions, as opposed to, it seems like somebody like Yaron Brook, I hope I'm saying his name right, is more, even though he's limited praxis, he seems more kind of like a centrist in some ways. Like, he kind of likes the status quo. He wants to pay lower taxes, but he doesn't want to do away with all these institutions. Like, the bigger they get, that's fine. Like, even if they're hurting somebody along the way, he doesn't care about the limited liability aspect as much.
I tried to tweet to him. Now, this was several years ago, and the good thing is he tweeted back to me the first time I tweeted to him. But the moment he realized that I was saying something about corporations that he didn't agree with, he said something and just off he went. And so we couldn't have a discussion.
Huh. That's interesting though, because I always think this: if your viewpoint is so good, couldn't you just finish that discussion? Why would you just drop it like that? Because maybe he hasn't thought about it enough, or maybe he's just not.
I don't know. I think because Robert Hessen wrote that book in defense of the corporation, the objectivist world has already decided.
So they've already decided because of that book. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, this is interesting. I like, a lot of people probably don't know as much about these things, so it's interesting to learn more about it.
Right. And I don't know where Ralph Nader fits in and all that, because even though he made the same argument that I made to a certain extent, I think my take on it is a little bit different from Ralph Nader's too.
I think it is. I think what it is with Ralph Nader, like he's kind of okay with the status quo a little bit more than Nassim Taleb. I think my impression is he feels like, well, a company should make this change if it can help people, and they shouldn't like put it on the consumer. Like he's a consumer advocate, but I think he makes a career out of that too. I think that's the way he saw he can make money. So he's not an idiot. He's pretty clever. So maybe he saw that as a way to make a career out of that. I don't know. I've always
I
wondered.
don't know. I don't want to say anything bad about him because I really don't know him at all.
I
And,
like him.
yeah,
I like him enough. I kind of like some of his ideas. He's very I think he has a really good work ethic. A lot of people like they look down upon him because he kind of encourages people to work at something. And there are things I like about him because he's Lebanese. I kind of like it. I don't know. There's just a lot of things I like about him, but I
yeah.
don't.
Did you see the thing I posted about Danny Thomas, who is also from a Lebanese family?
Huh. Oh yeah, Thomas. That last name that would make sense. It's like an Englandized version.
Yeah. Anyway, it's because the Lebanese place in Springfield had that, so I shared it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess Danny Thomas always looked like a familiar guy to me. Always thought, yeah, he looks nice, and that's all I thought.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, like I just.
and now I realize why he looked familiar. You know?
Yeah, that's kind of the same with me. Like I'll see somebody and I'll be like, kind of look like they have my dad's features.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, you're like Lebanese, and they're like, how do you know that? And I'm like, I don't know, I just knew.
Right. So anyway, about Ralph Nader, I don't want to say anything personal against him. Maybe he's a saint, the way Nassim thinks he's a saint, but.
Yeah.
I still think his take on it is different from mine,
Yeah,
even though we have a similar argument.
I like him in some ways, but I think what you probably don't agree with Ralph Nader, he does kind of favor the government intervention, and I know he's very pro EPA and having the government do things all the time. So I think that you would differ with him on that, and I'm okay. Like that doesn't bother me because I think it's okay to maybe want private entities to have more control of things, you know. Whereas I think Ralph Nader, and that's not a personal thing, that's just kind of like an observation about him. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's really all I had to say about Yvonne Brooke and Daniel Kahneman and Nassim Taleb, of course, and Ralph Nader.
Okay.
Is there anything else you would like to share?
You know, I don't really know. I just hear about them here and there. I don't follow. Well, I didn't know anything about Yvonne Brooke until today, really, except for a few things you mentioned before. I didn't really follow him. I used to really like Ralph Nader because everybody was like, he cares about us. He's a consumer advocate. And when I was younger, everybody just used to praise him to me, like, oh, he's so great because of the seatbelt. But then as I get older, I kind of begin to wonder, like, I think he could be really great about certain things, but I don't know. Like, he ran for president. Okay, that's one thing. A lot of people who didn't vote, like, they voted for him. And I know he ran for president, and he had, like, I think, an independent person who ran with him. So he is open to independent politics. I think I do like that about him, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
There's some things I like about him. I just don't feel like I know everything he stands for 100%. And the difference maybe between me and some other people is I'm getting to a point in my life where I just kind of want to let people be, and I'm not sure I want to say like this person's better, that person's better, and I kind of just want more to keep an open mind about things, I guess.
Yeah, well, an open mind is. I just don't like seatbelt laws at all. Because,
yeah,
you know, for anybody to stop someone and fine them for not wearing a seatbelt, it should be their own business.
Now that I don't think that you should, because I think that's just looking for a way to make money. Like,
yeah,
I don't agree with that. Now I don't know where Ralph Nader falls into that. I just know that he put pressure on the car industry to put the seatbelts in the car. I don't know how he feels about like the enforcement of the seatbelt law. Like, I have not followed that narrative. So
Yeah, because that definitely does not help the consumer.
no, that doesn't actually. I would say traffic court here in California really hurts the consumer, and a lot of people get traffic tickets for reasons that are not fair. And you can sometimes go to court and you explain why, and then they're like, "Oh, well, yeah, that wasn't right. Like, you just got a ticket because that person was in a bad mood, or they were passing a ticket." Like, there have been cases where they were able to substantiate, no, that ticket wasn't fair. And it puts a lot of burden on consumers, and sometimes people have to take days off work. So I don't think giving out tickets helps the consumer at all.
No. So again, that's why I've sort of lost faith in law enforcement.
Mm-hmm. Well, if we could maybe have more of a minimal law enforcement, like what you were talking about in that one video, where people would be held liable for what they do, as opposed to just trying to look for passing out a ticket, that might be a solution.
Yeah. So anyway, let's hope that we had some viewers. Did we?
There's one person, two people watching now, but nobody commented. It is the middle of the day, so maybe later more people will leave comments. But yeah, it was interesting talking to you about all this, Aya.
Yeah, I'm talking to you too. And hopefully we can do this again very soon.
For sure. Well, have a nice afternoon, Aya.
Okay, you too, Julia.
Okay.